Welcome to Wanderlust and Wishes, the podcast where we explore the world one destination at a time.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Krystle.
As travel agents with fantastical vacations, we are here to share our passion for travel and help you turn your wanderlust into reality.
From hidden gems to bucket list adventures, join us as we dive into the sights, sounds, and stories of our favorite destinations.
So grab your passport, pack your bags, and let's embark on this journey together.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 96 of Wanderlust and Wishes. Today, we're going to talk all about Princess Cruise Line. If you've ever wondered about Princess Cruise Line, if it's kind of the right cruise line for you, this is what we're going to talk all about. We have our wonderful friend and fellow agent, Margie, on to help us talk about it.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
So, just to kind of jump right in, why don't you give us a little bit of background on just a quick overview of your trip, like where you went, the cruise ship, that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, this was a regular cruise, but it was also a seminar at sea. So there were about 50 of us travel agents on there, but it was just a regular cruise. It was on the Sun Princess, leaving out of Fort Lauderdale with 2 sea days and 1 day at Cozumel, so a 4-night cruise, which is very unusual for Princess, such a short sailing.
Yeah. Is that because it was a seminar at sea, or you just think do they typically have those 4-night sailings? I don't feel like they do.
They rarely have the 4-night sailings, but lots of times when they're shifting between schedules, they might be ending on a certain day and starting on a different day, and they've got 4 days in between. So they'll do a little sailing. It does come up every couple of months, different places if you're looking at Princess. But I think that's probably why they chose to do that for the seminar at sea, because it was a short sailing.
Okay.
So let's start with another simple question what is Princess Cruise Line? So they are a part of the Carnival Corporation, but they're considered a premium cruise line. Think a step up from the big mainstream lines, but not ultra luxury. They're known for a more relaxed, refined experience, often a little bit more adult focused, and just not as party seen as a Carnival or even as royal.
Yeah. So when I think of Princess, it's the original Love Boat. If anybody remembers the old series with Captain Stubing, and Princess deems itself as affordable luxury. It blends comfortable and refined with modern technology. Their Medallion Class service is considered very, very cutting edge, and they are definitely a destination-focused cruise line. They don't have the huge, huge ships, but they also don't have the teeny tiny ships of a lot of luxury lines. They are pretty much right there in the middle.
Yeah, and they do have to have, they can't have like super humongous ships, especially for their Alaska sailings, because they can't be really large for them to go in and to see the glaciers and to go into Glacier Bay and all of that.
Correct. And they do a lot of destination travel. So they need those ships in the 2,000 passengers to 4,000 passenger ships.
Okay. And I know that you've done Princess a couple of times, but just in overall, do you feel like knowing that that's kind of the expectation as a travel agent? So we know based on our training and just the industry standards where Princess sits, and it's a higher expectation. Do you feel like it matches that once you're on board?
It does, but Princess, just like so many other cruise lines, so much of it depends on your destination. A Princess cruise out of Florida is going to be very different than a Princess cruise out of Alaska. I've got clients departing Singapore tomorrow on a 25-day Princess cruise. That is a very different,
Holy cow.
very different sailing than, 4 night out of Florida. So just like most cruise lines, you can't really put it in a box. You have to look at all the things. But yes, it does tend to cater a little less to that party crowd or, the child that needs to be constantly entertained with activities. Although you see a lot of multi-generational travel, it is a very relaxed cruise line. They've got great kids clubs and things to do. So don't discard the kids.
You mentioned Singapore, so let's talk about where they sail. Really, they go everywhere, but there are a few places they're especially known for, Alaska being a big one, and we'll have a whole section on that. But also Europe, the Caribbean, Panama Canal, California coast, Hawaii, even Asia and Australia. They really hit all the things. Me and my husband looked at one in South America. So, Margie, after going on this one, where do you personally feel Princess shines the most?
Princess wins awards for their sailings out of Alaska and the Mediterranean and their European destinations, but they are amazing all over the world. And I think a lot of Princess guests that travel with them over and over are looking for that more exotic, I want to see the whole world, but I don't want to have to pack my suitcase and unpack it every single time I go to a new destination. It's wonderful to be able to unpack one time, stay in a cruise ship, and maybe see 5 different countries and never have to unpack. That's a really cool benefit, and Princess really caters to that.
Okay, so let's talk about the ships and the overall onboard experience. We just talked about, or you just mentioned that their ship size is kind of in the middle range. They're not huge mega ships, but they're not like little tiny, like river type cruise ships. And then they also have that Medallion Class that you mentioned. So walk us through your boarding day and then your experience on the Sun Princess specifically.
It was kind of funny. I have done Disney and Royal Caribbean a lot. And as you walk onto the ship, there's this beautiful, huge atrium, and you feel like you've walked into this massive room. With Princess, we kind of walked into a hallway and went down the hallway to get where there was a bit of a lounge area before we found where we were going on the ship. So it was a little underwhelming. But once you get on board and you find the different venues, it was a beautiful ship. Now, we were on the Sun Princess, which is one of their newer ships. It accommodates about 4,000 guests. So it was, again, a mid-sized ship. We found the main atrium, kind of walked around the ship, found our room. We were able to get into our room right away. I believe we had a late boarding time, though. We didn't get on the ship until about 1:30. So we found our room, did that. Luggage wasn't there yet, so we just kind of wandered the ship. We'll talk later about some of the benefits of Princess, which does include the packages with a drink package. So we did find a lounge and grabbed us a drink as we were checking out the ship.
What was your thought on your actual stateroom?
I thought the room was rather skinny, which was odd. It was a balcony. It was nice, but we were right next to one of the deluxe balconies that has an extended balcony. So I was kind of I chatted with my neighbors on the balcony. Usually you can't see them because of the petition, but their balcony extended out another 7, 8 feet. So when they were on their balcony, they could easily just turn around and see me. And when I was on my balcony, I couldn't help but see them. So
Wow.
we chatted once or twice. I thought that was kind of odd, but the room was fully equipped. Again, a newer ship, fully equipped with all your outlets, but the newer ones and the older ones where you plug in your USB cords. The room itself had lots of cubbies, lots of places to put stuff. It had a bed, which is the 2 twin beds pushed together, and then it had a sofa, but I was surprised at how thin it was. There was not a whole lot of room at the end of the bed as you walked down to the balcony. I guess I'm used to just a little bit bigger cabin. That wasn't a detraction, but it was just a thing.
I don't know how I feel about the way the balcony situation is, because I wouldn't, especially if I paid extra or, more for that deluxe balcony in the other room, and I saw the person next to me, I just don't know how I feel about that. I would not be happy about that. I mean, I know it's nice. I'm sure that, you were a great neighbor and you guys were like chatting and stuff, but because you don't know a stranger, and I'm sure that you made friends, but I just don't know. I think I would be a little taken aback.
I thought that was kind of odd. And as I looked down the way, if you went to the other end, the same thing. My mirrored cabin at the other end was next to one of those deluxe balconies that kind of stuck out. And I'm guessing it's based on the shape of the inside of the room, but I did think it was rather odd.
So you think it's like it was just really that specific layout on that end, like each end of the ship. So
Correct.
it's not like that was like every other room situation. It was like that one particular combination being right there in that space.
Correct. And then the
Okay.
deluxe balcony next to them, they were going to have that petition. They weren't going to see their room.
Okay.
So it's just at that point. And it wasn't obnoxious if they didn't want to. Now, they would have been under an overhang if they were next to where the petition was, because their balcony was double the size of mine. So if they were on the part of their balcony closer to their room, they would not have been able to see me, and I would not have been able to see them. It was only
Okay.
when they were on the outer half of their balcony.
So what about the other side? Did you have, like, was the other side of you just like a
It was
regular
a
balcony?
standard balcony. I had the
Okay.
petition, and if we both hung our heads around the petition, we could have seen each other. But people don't typically do that.
No.
But also to go back to the stateroom, all the newer ships, and I love, love, love this. They are putting in glass doors for the shower instead of the shower curtains that attack you as you take a shower. So it was quite lovely to have a glass door in the shower.
Okay. Nice. Did you use the Medallion Class benefits? Did you do that on this ship or on this trip?
Yes and no. You're going to use the Medallion all the time. That is actually your key card to open up your door. The Medallion connects up to your room. So we had purchased wristbands. Now, the medallions come in a necklace, and you can get all kinds of different jewelry, or you can get a clip so that you can wear it on your belt loop. You can get a bracelet, you can get a necklace, or it just comes with a standard chain. We had gotten what looks like a magic band watch things on our last trip, and those are reusable. The medallion pops right out, so we put our medallion in that, and it was great. It was always on your wrist. You're not trying to reach in a wallet or find a card for your key of the world card or anything like that. As you approach your stateroom, it recognizes your medallion and it unlocks your door.
Well, that's
So
fun.
you've got stuff in your hands and you're trying to open your door, it recognizes it, and it will pop up your picture and say door open.
Are
Nice.
they similar in size to like an Apple AirTag, right?
Yes, almost the exact same size as an Apple AirTag. And you'll use that medallion every time you get a drink. With the Plus package, it includes like casual dining. So when we went to go to our casual dining, they just scanned our medallion. Even when you'd go to the dining at night, that was included. As you would approach, you could see the girl look at her iPad. She could see who you were. It wasn't a lot of, hey, what cabin number are you in? Scan here. As we got close and we were the next one up, and our medallion got within about a foot of her iPad, she would recognize us. Oh, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds. Are you, wanting to eat dinner here or here? So it does have some benefits.
Yeah, that's
Now,
very nice.
it does have quote unquote ocean ready, where in theory you can order food or drinks from anywhere on the ship. But every time we tried to use it, we got the message that it wasn't working at that time in that spot. So I don't know, maybe if we'd spent more time at the pool and it would do it there, or if you were in the casino, maybe it would do it there. I've got a friend that cruises Princess a lot, and they say it works great, but they're going to spend a lot more time during the day when I was in meetings at the pool. So that might have been why. But it's a cool concept.
You mentioned dining. So let's talk about dining. Dining on Princess is really flexible. You have traditional dining, anytime dining, and then like you mentioned, like the more app-based flexibility. There are specialty restaurants like steakhouses and Italian, and then casual food like pizza gets a lot of love. Did you try a mix of dining? What stood out the most? Tell us all.
Now, on this particular trip, we ate just about everywhere. Princess is kind of unusual in their dining. Like Norwegian does the flexible dining, there's no set schedules. Princess says they have set schedules, but they're really not highly set. Like we ate at the set schedule restaurant twice, but not at set times. The flexible dining was busy, so they sent us down to the other restaurant. So with Princess, you've got the three different types of dining. You've got the regular dining that's included for everybody. You've got the casual restaurants, which are a small upcharge fee, and you've got your specialty restaurants, which are a larger upcharge fee. If you've got the Plus package, you do get 4 casual dining. On this particular ship, the 2 casual dining restaurants were O'Malley's Pub and Alfredo's Pizzeria. Now, Alfredo's closed about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so if you wanted to get Alfredo's, you had to go pretty much for lunch. Now, if you want to get pizza late night, that's fine. You can always go to the buffet. There's pizza available at other places on the ship. You can still get your pizza free and late at night. But the Alfredo's was a limited time that it was open. And again, that used up a casual meal credit if you were on the Plus package. O'Malley's Pub had an odd entrance. And every time we went to go there, it looked like it was packed. So we never actually ate at O'Malley's. So that was kind of unusual. They've got 2 specialty dinings on this particular ship. They've got the steakhouse and they've got the Italian restaurant. And both of those are a pretty significant upcharge. Now, if you've got the Premier Princess package, that does include specialty dining. So you can eat there as often as you want if you have the Premier package. Again, the food in the main restaurants is absolutely fine. It's really good. We didn't feel the need to spend the extra money for specialty restaurants, although we are going to give that a shot when we travel up to Alaska in May. We've got the Princess Premier, which will give us specialty dining. Another thing on Princess, it's very important as soon as you pay your final payment, dining becomes open. You want to go ahead and book your restaurants. They fill up quickly. Now you can always find dining. One night we didn't have reservations and we went to the Anytime restaurant and there was about a 5-minute wait. And that was the longest we ever had to wait for dinner. So you can always get food, but if you're very particular and you want a specific dining time and there's a bunch of you in the group, you need to book that as soon as you hit 90 days and have paid your cruise in full.
So can you explain that a little bit? Because I think depending on the cruise line that you've used, if you're on Disney, you don't have to make reservations for anything except for specialty dining. Like you have your dining time, and if it's, room service or quick service, you just go and get whatever you want. So how does that work? Even your included restaurants that are where you don't have to do any upcharge, you don't have to pay anything extra, you still have to make a reservation for that particular location.
You do not. You can show up at whatever time you want. It's actually very flexible. You can show up from, I believe, like 5 to 9, and they will see you. But if you've got a large group, maybe 6 people or more, you're going to want to go ahead and schedule that because otherwise you might be waiting 30 or 45 minutes to get a table. With just 2 of us traveling, it was very easy to get dining anytime at either of the restaurants.
Yeah.
When we go to Alaska, there's going to be 8 of us. So we already have booked all of our dining for that particular trip.
Okay.
And it's very easy on the website to go in and book it. You just have to know to do that. One of the benefits of using a travel agent, because they'll tell you need to get on your app and go book your dining, because you can get frustrated if it's not there.
So, and I do have one more question. You talked about the buffet. So is the buffet open like 24/7, or is it just open until like 11 o'clock at night, or whatever? Like what are the hours of the buffet if someone wanted to just kind of go grab food from there when they wanted to?
Well, you've got a lot of different times. For example, on the Sun Princess, they had the eatery, which was a buffet on deck 6, right behind the International Cafe. And that was open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So maybe probably from 7 to 10:30 for breakfast and 11 to 2:30 for lunch. And I believe 6 to 9 for dinner. So that wasn't open 24/7, but it was open good hours.
Okay.
Up on the pool deck, starting about 11 o'clock, on the Lido deck, you had a lot of different options up there, and you could kind of go to the different places, get burgers, get tacos, get salads. And that was really open only kind of in the middle of the day, about 11 to 6. The Americana Diner was kind of in the back of the eatery. And this was a unique restaurant, which unfortunately we didn't find until our last night. It does breakfast all day. It is open kind of meal hours as well. It's open for breakfast. It's open for lunch. It's open for dinner. We ate there late. I believe it was open until 10 o'clock. And it had a lot of comfort food. You had breakfast all day. You had mac and cheese. You had baby back ribs, mashed potatoes, country fried steak. So it was a really unique, interesting menu. There was also some buffets that were later at night. We're kind of boring people, so we were in before the late night buffets opened up. But all you do is go to your app and click on Available Now. And I believe the International Cafe was open with like sandwiches and pastries until 2 in the morning, maybe 3 in the morning.
Okay. If you had to pick, let's say for this particular ship, because I know every ship is different, but if you had to pick like your top 2, but then one that you maybe experienced and you're like, it wasn't that great, I would probably skip it next time. Like what would those be?
Well, we didn't eat at the Tuscan Grill. I would probably pick that because I do love steak. So I'm going to give that a shot next Princess Cruise.
Okay.
But we love the Americana Diner. It has such a diverse menu, and who can go wrong with breakfast for dinner?
Yeah, seriously. Okay. Was there one that you didn't like that you were like, you probably wouldn't want to do next time, or maybe one that wouldn't be your favorite? You would choose something else over it?
The buffet on both the Lido and the eatery was just your typical buffet. So it wasn't anything to write home about. Jimmy really liked it. They had a lot of international options. I thought it was a little exotic for me. The International Cafe really just had like finger sandwiches and pastries. So you're not going to get a healthy meal out of it. They did change the menu at Alfredo's, which disappointed me. It used to have amazing pasta and the pizzas. The pizza is still fantastic. It's really good pizza, but that was the only thing on the menu now, just the pizza.
That's weird. Like, I would almost think like you would at least have like fettuccine Alfredo if it's called Alfredo.
Right? I was very surprised and a little disappointed, especially now you have to use a casual dining credit to eat there, and it's just pizza, but it is good pizza.
You've mentioned the Princess Premier and Princess Plus. These are two of my favorite parts about Princess, and kind of something that sets them apart in a way. These are packages that you can buy that include drinks, Wi-Fi, gratuities, maybe an excursion credit, some bottles of water. Which one do you recommend? And who would you say is a better fit for each one?
Well, it totally depends on who's going. We usually are going with a group, usually the family, so we'll get the Princess Plus. That's the less expensive package. And I've had clients say, oh, I don't drink. I don't want to get the package. Well, it also includes smoothies and specialty coffees, and you can get 12 bottles of water every single day. And if anybody knows, when you're out in the hot sun, drinking water is very important. You also now get an excursion credit. So that right there is just a huge benefit. Now, it starts at $100 and goes up to $300 based on the length of your cruise. The packages make it really feel all-inclusive. So you're not paying the extra onboard gratuities at the end of your cruise, and you're not paying for a drink every time you turn around. The Wi-Fi is very, very good on the ship. So that's another nice perk. So for most people, if they're going in a group and they're not sure how much they're going to take advantage of it, I would definitely recommend Princess Plus. Now, especially if it's just two people going and it's maybe a more romantic, a honeymoon, they're celebrating something special, an anniversary or something. I love the Princess Premier. Now, the difference in the drinks, plus you can get drinks up to $15 and you're capped at $15 a day. With Premier, you can get drinks up to $20 and it's unlimited. Let's hope you're not going over 15 drinks a day, but whatever, we'll assume it was a pool day. Now, with the Wi-Fi, with Plus, you get one device per guest. With the Princess Premier, you do get 4 devices. And I was used to on other cruise lines, you can flip devices. You cannot on Princess. Once you've used that device as your one device, that is the device that you can use. To switch it to a different device, you have to pay for a separate device. So that's a little different than a lot of the cruise lines. But it was very inexpensive to add an extra device for Wi-Fi. So that was nice. The Premier package also includes unlimited photo downloads. So again, if this is going to be a special occasion, this is a great time to get that Princess Premier. It's also going to include your specialty dining. We have literally got specialty dining booked for every single night of our Alaska cruise where we've got the Premier package. It also includes the casual dining. Now, Plus includes 4 casual dinings. Princess is unlimited. So both are great programs. It just depends on what you're looking and what matters most to you. So I do kind of ask, do you usually buy the photo package? If you do, Premier is probably worth it. If you don't, Plus is usually plenty fine.
Okay, so let's move into entertainment and just the overall vibe on the ship. The entertainment is pretty solid. They have Broadway-style shows, live music, they have game shows. They also have a casino, which can be different depending on the cruise lines that you've experienced. They have Movies Under the Stars, which is kind of a signature experience for Princess. But as we've already mentioned, the vibe in general is just really relaxed. It's not a party vibe. It is not meant to be that. Not crazy, high energy. Like Margie was saying, like somebody that has to have something to do all the time. Like this might not be the right cruise line for you because that's not the way that this is structured. What did you do while you were on this particular cruise? Did you see a couple of different shows? And, what was your impression? What did you like? What did you not like?
Well, we did. We go see the shows every night. I am definitely a show person, and my wonderful husband lets me drag him with me. So we have a lot of experience with the different shows. I was surprised that the first night wasn't even a music show, but just the comedian. And he was very good. Even though it was a later show, he kept it family friendly. And lots of comedians do not know how to make it funny if it is family friendly. And he did a great job of that. The rest of the nights, it was singing and dancing. The first night was a story, but it was not like a Broadway show. It was, I guess, a story written for that cruise line. It was not the most amazing story line. They had some singers and dancers, and they tried to put a story around some singers and dancers.
Yeah.
Not the best, but the dancers themselves and the singers were fantastic. I have yet to be on a cruise ship where the performers were not just over the top amazing. They really do get good talent on these ships. Even when sometimes the shows themselves aren't great, you can always appreciate the talent of these people. Now, two of the shows were musical reviews where they were different songs, different dances, and those were excellent. Really enjoyed those. I'm going to step backwards. Another benefit of having Princess Premiere is you do have reserved seating in the big theaters for these shows that they're doing. So that's a nice perk.
If you don't, do you have to reserve it ahead of time, or do you have to just kind of show up and hope that you get a seat?
The theaters are plenty big. You just have to show up. There was never an issue getting a seat. And once or twice we were running late. Again, no problem getting a seat. The theaters hold plenty of people. I thought they were good. I think had they had more of a Broadway style show like what you get on Royal Caribbean or Disney, it might have been more of an issue. You cannot make reservations ahead of time. You just show up. So if you want a better seat, show up earlier or pay for the premiere package.
Okay, so if people are expecting like The Lion King or something like that, they're not getting something that's been on Broadway.
No, they're going to get a very entertaining musical review, and that's about it. But again, very entertaining. And then you also mentioned movies under the stars. Last time we were in Alaska, this was one of our favorite things. They always put out hot chocolate and blankets because when you're up in Alaska, it might not really be warm enough to sit under the stars and watch a movie. But there were tons of people out there huddled under their blankets with their cup of hot chocolate, and they have popcorn up there. And so you can sit and enjoy the movie. And that is really fun to do. We enjoyed that.
Yeah, I love doing stuff like that too. You mentioned that you're just a person that likes to go to a show.
Yes.
But if you're talking to someone that maybe would be on the fence or something, is this something that you would plan your night around, or it's something that's just kind of a nice extra that you go do if you like to go to a show?
It depends on the person totally. They do 2 shows every night, just like most cruise ships, so that if you eat early, you can go to a late show. If you eat late, you can go to an early show. There are other different types of entertainment around the ship as well. There was a brass band that was playing in one of the lounges. They were excellent. A couple of different lounges at different times had a solo guitar player, very good. They did game shows and variety shows in the main atrium, and they also had a piano player playing show tunes in the main atrium. So there was a lot of entertainment. If the musical reviews, singing and dancing is not your thing, you can find something somewhere around the ship. And it was advertised every night exactly what it was. We didn't get to a show and go, oh, that's not what it said in the program. We saw what it said. We knew the first night was going to be a comedian. So you could really pick and choose if it was worth your time. If you're not going to enjoy a musical review, tons of other stuff to do around the ship. Go do something else.
Okay, that's fair.
Now we've talked through some of the different aspects of the cruise line itself and the ship. Let's talk through like a quick snapshot of your typical day on board.
Well, this was actually a working cruise. So as a travel agent, it was a seminar at sea. I did have on the sea days trainings from about 9 in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon. So that was spent in a restaurant with some training and some really nice pastries. So we learned a lot. And then after that, we like to head to the pool for the midday, grab something on the Lido deck, and then the evenings, kind of dinner and a show. The nice thing about Princess is all the movies on the TVs in the rooms are included. You're not paying like a pay-per-view type charge. And they probably had 100, 150 fairly recent movies. So plenty of stuff that you can watch. If maybe you've got a little one that's taking a nap and you want to watch a movie in the room, or maybe you're just ready to call it a day a little early and get some rest on your vacation. So you could watch TV in your room as well as stuff to do all around the ship.
How was your day at Cozumel? Did you get off the ship or did you do anything there?
We did. I'd been wanting to check out a brand that I get asked about a lot that I'd never actually stayed at. So we did resort for a day at the Iberostar Resort in
Nice.
Cozumel.
Nice.
I'm a little spoiled. I have done sandals several times, and Iberostar was really nice, but it was a little different feel. Had a great smaller pool for the young kids. They had bungalows, which would make it good for families. We did book this one because it mentioned that there were 5 different restaurants we could choose from, and the only restaurant that was open was the buffet. So we were a little disappointed by that, but the food was excellent. So we just hung out, enjoyed some food and drinks for the day, and then headed back to the ship.
It's a totally different price point than sandals, though. So
It is. That's why I wanted to check it out, because I have had so many people ask about it.
yeah,
And I kept telling myself, this is a different price point.
right. Yeah.
And it's also much more family friendly. There were a lot of stuff for families to do there.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of good things about it as far as like being an affordable place for
Yeah, it was very
families.
clean. The staff was super nice, very helpful.
I know there's a couple in Cancun and Riviera Maya that are always chock full because they're so
Yep.
popular.
Yep.
We talked about a little earlier on that Princess is very well known for their Alaskan cruises. They are basically the gold standard for Alaskan cruises. They are able to get into Glacier Bay National Park, and a lot of other cruise lines don't have that access, or if they do, they're basically borrowing their slots from Princess because Princess owns all of those slots for that space. They also offer cruise tours, which is absolutely on my bucket list. You can either do a land tour before or after your cruise. So extending your cruise, which is typically going to be for Alaska, is going to be at least 7 days. And then you can add on like 3 or 4 or 5 days for a land cruise before or after. So, and I know Margie has done a lot. She's gone to Alaska herself and then also has worked a lot with clients on it. Why do you personally love Princess for Alaska?
Well, Princess knows how to do Alaska right. They offer so many different itineraries. You mentioned the cruise tour, but they also do round trips from Seattle and Vancouver, but they also do a round trip from San Francisco. For a lot of people, that's just a great way of doing Alaska and might save them a little bit of money on the flight to get to the West Coast. Their north-south itineraries where they start in Vancouver and end in Anchorage, or start in Anchorage and end in Vancouver, are really good to see a little bit more into Alaska. It takes you just a little further north. And then their cruise tours are amazing. A lot of people like to do the land first and then cruise because the cruise is nice and relaxing. We are kind of the opposite. We like to relax and cruise, and then we get off and we've had our chill. We're ready to go do the fun adventure of the land tour. They'll take you up into Denali National Park. You've got different excursions. They will teach you about the dog sledding and the Iditarod Trail, where a lot of dog mushers will run. Princess works with park rangers, naturalists, and different famous people like the guy that's on The Deadliest Catch, and they bring them on the ship to tell you all about this Alaska wilderness, which is just not only beautiful, but it's incredible. We've seen bear, we've seen moose, we've seen caribou, we've seen fox. I mean, so you get a whale watching, you get a little of everything when you go to Alaska. And it's not as cold as people think. We went in July last time we went, and the weather was in the high 70s, low 80s the entire time we were there. So it is a great place to go. It is just such an amazing destination. And I'm going to throw a little tidbit out. Holland America is a sister brand to Princess, and pretty much everything we've said about Princess also applies to Holland America. They are a little bit smaller of footprint, and their cruise lines their itineraries tend to be just a little bit more expensive, but they also do some of the longer itineraries as well.
And what's your favorite excursion that you've ever done for your Alaska? And it could be just for the cruise or for the cruise tour, either one.
Well, I think it's going to be one that we're doing this time, so you'll have to ask me again in a few months. But in the past, we did a whale watching tour, and we got a private boat. We had 14 of us, and we got a private boat. So he was just taking us out, and he's like, "Oh, look, there's a whale over there." And we got to see a mother and a baby whale, and they were breaching the water several times. We got to see that. And then he took us a little closer to the shoreline, and that's where we got to see our bear. And we saw a seaplane taking off while we were on the boat.
Oh,
And he
that's
gave
fun.
us an interesting fact that in Alaska, there are more pilot's license than driver's license issued. because that's how you get around in Alaska. And it was really cool. The captain and his son was the first mate. They were just great. They were showing us stuff. We had a good time on the boat. So that was probably my best. But what's coming up is we are taking one of those seaplanes to a lodge that you can't get to except by plane.
Nice.
And rumor has it that there is a bear that hangs out near the lodge because of all the salmon leftovers that they have when they serve us lunch. So we are eager to do this one, and hopefully they'll tell you all about it next time.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, I know. I mean, especially like Glacier Bay National Park, you cannot get to it except by cruise ship,
Right.
or plane, really. Like that's the only way you're able to access it. And I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Right. Now, a lot of people think that it's a port stop. It is not. You stay on the ship. With Princess, they actually bring on naturalists and park rangers. And if you go like up top, as you drive by Glacier Bay, you can see the iceberg calving. And these experts will tell you all about Alaska and the glaciers and what's going on and what you're actually witnessing. And now there are some excursions that are rather pricey where you get on a ship from the ship and they will cruise up even closer to the glacier and they will give you a drink with an ice cube that is one part of the glacier.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, we've not done that, but I have seen people doing it.
Yeah, I don't know about that's probably a pretty small boat.
It is a very small boat, and there are big pieces of ice hitting the water.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that one.
So I'll leave that for the more hardy people.
Now let's talk about who Princess is great for. So if you're a couple, if you are an empty nester, if you have a multi-generational family, especially for Alaska, it's also a really nice option for first-time cruisers who just want something a little more elevated, but it might not be the right fit if you want water slides, zip lines, and nonstop action. Maybe we'll put you over on Royal Caribbean. But now that you've experienced it a couple times, who would you say this cruise line is really for, Margie?
It can really be for anyone. I like the all-inclusive feel. So many people complain that they get a great price on a cruise and then they have to pay extra for the onboard gratuities and they have to pay extra for the drinks. So the all-inclusive part of it is really nice. There are great kids clubs. When we have traveled before, we've had kids in our party, and because it's less kid focused, these associates that are working in the kids club are really hands-on. They're one-on-one with these kids. The group we were with last time, we didn't know the two boys well. They were friends of friends of friends that were all traveling in our big group, but the boys were like 9 and 12. And every time we saw them, they're like, we're going back to the kids club. We're going back to the kids club. Again, you don't have a lot. You're not going to see tons of friends and make friends, from all these different other families. I think there were only maybe 20 kids on our Alaska cruise last time we went.
Wow.
I think it's gotten to be a lot more than that now because a lot more families are going to Alaska, but it's not going to be like a Royal Caribbean or a Disney. It's really for that like multi-generational where there's plenty for the grandparents to do. There's plenty for the parents to do. There's good kids clubs for the kids. Everybody can go watch the movie Under the Stars and have some hot chocolate together. It's a little bit of something for everyone. So it is a really good family-friendly cruise line.
Yeah, it's just more laid back. And I think
it's more laid back. And if you're traveling without kids, it's nice because you don't have 500 kids running around everywhere.
Right.
You will see kids, but it's not near as many.
Right.
It's a great place to just relax and spend time with family and just enjoy an actual vacation.
I've heard from kids that have been on Princess too that they feel like they rule the ship because they are recognized everywhere from the kids club because there are only a handful of them. So they stand out. So they're not lost amongst all the kids. They stand out and they just love being the focus.
Yeah, they get special attention.
They do. And I'm going to throw out another big benefit if you're traveling with kids on Princess with the Medallion. Now, adults can turn this off. If you don't want people to know where you're at, you can turn off your Medallion. But kids cannot. If they are under 18, their parents can see exactly where they're at as long as they have their Medallion, but they can't really do anything without it at any time. So
like
it's a
360 on the cruise
just
ship.
like Live 360. Yep. It really does. It's great. And with adults, it's nice because if we're doing something different, and my husband never thinks to check his phone, I would just pull up my app and go, oh, he's at the gym. I'll just go up there and meet him.
Okay, so moving on to what was your biggest surprise, good or bad, from your trip?
Wow. We've traveled Princess, so I really wasn't surprised by a lot of stuff. Maybe how fun it was to cruise Princess out of Florida. I always think of Royal Caribbean or Disney when I go out of Florida, and it was so nice cruising out of Fort Lauderdale and getting on a beautiful ship and having all the perks of Princess and doing it right out of Florida.
Yeah, you definitely think of like the longer cruises for Alaska or the Mediterranean or Europe when you think of Princess. So I'm sure it was interesting being in the Caribbean on a Princess
It
cruise.
was, but it was nice.
So what about, I don't want to say like cons, but like what were things that you probably could do without or things that you experienced that you would have preferred had been better while you were on the ship?
I like the set dining where you have the same staff and you have the same table. And they don't really do that even though they have the set times. You still go up front and they seat you at different tables. So that was a little disappointing. Still, the food was good. I think all the cruise lines have pulled back their menu where they don't have near as many options as they used to. But every night, I'm a very, very picky eater. But every night, there was always something that looked great for me. And my husband loved everything on the menu. So that was really no big deal.
What about, you guys don't really visit the casinos, right? Like you're not big casino people.
We are not. I do walk through just to check it out. In the past, we have found that going to the casino bar was usually a great place to get drinks because most people go to the casino to gamble. And so the bar's not crowded. But this ship didn't even have a bar in the casino, which really was odd. Now they had one right outside the casino. So we walked through and they do a good job of pulling the smoke out of it. It's really not terrible. Like I remember when we first started cruising, you would walk anywhere near a casino and there was just this haze of smoke.
Yeah, gross.
Yeah. Not my cup of tea.
What about the app? Like how did you have any issues with that or how did it go well?
The app was not my favorite. Again, I'm sure part of it is not being as comfortable with it as I am with some other brands that I cruise more often. But I felt it was a little clunky. I couldn't filter to different things, and I had to scroll through all of the marketing things to find the activities that I was looking for, which was kind of frustrating. Again, that very well could have been a user error more than the app, but the app did seem rather clunky. But it was better than the last time I cruised Princess. So they're obviously making improvements, and I'll give them credit for that.
I'm not a fan of putting ads and stuff or putting like the marketing stuff in there. Like that's, to me, that's, I get it. Like they've got to have maybe some stuff, but don't make me scroll through marketing. Just give me the app and let me do what I need to do.
Now, I will give them credit. They had the princess patter in our room every night. So they are still printing up the paper itineraries on their ship, which
okay.
was a pleasant surprise.
Interesting. I'm so
I think
anti-paper. So
I think as they improve their app, that will go away like it has
Yeah.
on most other cruise lines.
Yeah.
But right now they needed it because their app left a little bit to be desired if you're trying to figure out what you wanted to do.
yeah.
Well, and I just think about some of the clientele and not necessarily like an age thing, but I had someone that was just going on Royal Caribbean. They're probably in their 60s and he was like, I don't want to sit and deal with the app. So he wanted the paper.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of repeat cruisers that have just, I mean, they take their highlighter with them. That's the first thing they do at night is they get that schedule and they highlight what they're going to do. Well, you can't really highlight on your phone or you've kind of ruined your phone and it doesn't work once you get to the next page. So
Yeah, we have an app that's like you pick what you want and then you can filter it by your actual plan. Like that's kind of your highlighter. But I know it just depends. Everybody's different. So we want to go through really quickly some booking tips for Princess. If you are considering Princess, you definitely want to book early for Alaska. That's probably something you would want to book out like probably 18 to 24 months if possible, because it does sell quickly. And the time frame for Alaskan cruises, it's not like it's year round. So they only have so many months that they tend to go. July is probably like that best time frame ish because the weather's like you were mentioning, Margie, like the weather's actually really nice for the most part. You can go in like May or June, but sometimes the weather's a little on the chillier side, but it's also going to be less expensive. So depending on what is most important for you. They're continually releasing promotions. That is a benefit of having a travel agent because we'll watch that kind of stuff for you. However, for the most part, if you book early, you're going to get the best price. I feel like this is probably pretty standard for most cruise lines, but your cabin location can make a huge difference. If you're looking at Alaska specifically for Princess, making sure you're on the appropriate side of the ship, depending on what direction you're going in, you want to be on the side that's closest to the coast. Those things matter when you're talking about your more scenic itineraries.
They do. And with Princess, you've got itineraries all over the world. I actually had a group going to see the fjords in Norway, and another couple decided to book last minute. That was with their group. And when I pulled it up, I accidentally pulled up the following year.
Oh.
And I looked at it and went, oh my goodness, this is almost $1,500 less expensive than everybody else's cruise. And I was so excited. I was about to call everybody up and tell them I was able to save them $1,500. And I went, well, wait a minute, the date leaving is wrong. And that's when I figured out that it was leaving on the 2nd and everybody else was leaving on the 1st. And it's like, oh, I've got the wrong year. And that's when the light bulb came on. And I said, if I did this 2 years out, it was $1,500 less expensive for the exact same cruise.
Yep.
So, of course, that's when I booked all of my kids on a cruise to the fjords of Norway. So we've got that on our list. Hopefully, we're going to be able to do that in 27. But, I mean, it was amazing the difference in price booking that far out. But the nice thing about Princess is they offer refundable deposits. Now, they have recently changed, but it's not terrible. It usually bumps your price about $200 to have a refundable deposit. But when you're booking something 2.5 years out, that's important.
That's nice. It's only a couple $100 and not double the fare like
Yes.
another cruise line.
There are other cruise lines that almost double the fare if you book refundable.
What's one thing that you always tell your clients before booking Princess, like specifically?
Well, before booking, a lot of clients are comparing apples to apples, but they're not. So they're looking at this cruise line A and they go, oh, well, that one's only $3,000, but Princess is $4,000. But it's like, wait a minute, but Princess is including all these other things. And by the time you add them to this other cruise line, you're going to actually pay more at the other cruise line. So it's important to look at what you get included in that price. And then once they've booked, the first thing I tell everybody to do is download the app. There's so much to see. You can start getting excited about the ship. It shows the venues. As soon as you're paid in full, you need to book your dining. You get Medallion ready on your app, on your phone, where you take pictures of your passport. You fill all the information out about your travel so they know if you need to get off the ship earlier, if you want a later departure on the ship. And all that is done on your app. So I encourage people to get on that app right away and start planning for their trip.
Is there any one thing you wish you knew before you sailed Princess for the very first time?
I'm trying to think back when I sailed the first time. I think this applies to all cruise lines. I have learned to go through the whole ship as soon as you get on because you miss venues. Like even on this ship, we didn't find the Americana Diner until the very last night, and it had a fabulous menu. We probably would have eaten there several more times if we'd found it earlier. So walk around, get lost, explore.
Yeah, I think that's probably just like across the board, like one of the hardest parts is when you go on a particular ship the first time, getting to know that ship takes you a couple of days. And depending on how long the cruise is, by the time you kind of figure out where everything is, it might be time to get off. And so that's just your excuse to like, now you need to sail Sun Princess again because now you like know the ship and you have that under your belt, you know?
Yeah.
Speaking of sailing again, what is their bounce back future cruise credit for Princess?
I could not really find any good information on that. I don't think they were offering a significant deal. They definitely have like a next cruise type area where you can book your next cruise on the ship, but I didn't really see a huge perk of doing that. Now, I know that a lot of cruise lines run specials. So sometimes it's a great perk and sometimes it's not. And again, I couldn't find any benefit to booking while on board for this particular sailing. Doesn't mean that's always the case, but I could not find any benefits.
Okay, so to wrap up, overall, Princess is fantastic as a relaxed but elevated experience. It's a very strong for Alaska and Mediterranean Europe, those itineraries. It doesn't mean you can't sail the Caribbean with Princess. It's just those are typically their stronger areas because I think of what Margie mentioned, that kind of cultural component where they pull in people and do kind of that education on board and get you really integrated into that culture, that area. If you've ever been curious about Princess, we hope that this was really helpful. Thank you, Margie. As always, you're the absolute best, and we appreciate you being on. I definitely want to hear about your Alaska cruise and how that goes. So put a pin in your calendar for when you come back, because I want to hear all about it. I love hearing about your experiences and just your experience as a travel agent in general. All of your knowledge is always amazing to me.
Well, thank you so much for having me. That's really sweet to say, and I can't wait to go to Alaska.
We're going to get you a Mama Margie pin or a shirt.
I love it. I love it.
As always, for our listeners, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for listening. And if you're thinking about planning a cruise, we would absolutely love to help you. We hope you have a fantastic week, and we will all chat with you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wanderlust and Wishes.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.
And remember, the world is full of wonders waiting to be explored. Until next time, happy travels.
Bye for now.